Sweet. Hi, my name's Paul, Addict Mentor. My real name's Paul Simmons. I just want to tell you a little bit about my life, who I am, what I'm doing here. I was born in the 70s, 1978, Southmead Hospital, lived in Lockleys most of my childhood. At 6 years old, I was taken out of my family home because I'd ended up going to hospital 26 times for various assaults, bumps and scrapes that were unexplained. So I was taken out of my family home at 6, put into the care system, because obviously I was getting licks at home, beatings, being assaulted at home. And I ended up going into the care system. In the care system, it got real mad. I was put around some really unruly children. You know, my head was quite sharp. You know, I'm quite well educated. I've got my GCSEs, I've got a degree, I've got oodles of qualifications, but I was put around kind of the crazy kids from all the estates. So we're all in this one school. And when I was in there, the behaviour of the care staff was very, very bad. It was very bad. Kids were abused and beaten, and it got real mad. So from 6 up until 16, I was living that life. It was crazy. I was trying to do my schoolwork, but at the same time, my head was getting messed up. I didn't have support. You got to remember, I've been taken away from my mum and dad. The people who were supposed to care for me, they didn't care for me. So they left me in that real horrible situation where, you know, I'd just been abused. I was a toy for people who should have known a lot better. So I get to 16, done my GCSEs, and I'm leaving the care system now. What do I do? Do I go back home, which I could have done? I could have gone back home. Most probably had it out with my dad, see what happened. Now, I didn't do that. I headed straight from, and my school was in the middle of Wiltshire, in the middle of country, and I moved straight back to Bristol, homeless, sleeping on the streets, sleeping rough, ragged, getting involved in all sorts, alcoholism, small drug crime, and I say small drugs when I say soft drugs, you know, cannabis, I was using a bit of that, but I couldn't take care of myself. I was living on the streets. So I started getting involved in crime. And crime is what I want to talk to you a great deal about, because my first prison sentence was, I have to look, in 1995. My first ever offence was in 1994. So I'm a kid still. In 94 I got done for GBH. Some guy thought he could get smart with this messed up kid. He said something racist to me. Now, back then, someone said anything racist to me, it was on. That's kind of, because that was a headspace I've been taught. That's all I knew. So I smacked this guy up. I ended up going to prison. I went to prison for a year. I got out. Most people at 16 would go, do you know what? You got a year, let's sort your life out. But I didn't do that. I got out. I went back to jail for 3.5 years this time. Right? Got back out again. Now I'm into drugs, heavy drugs. I'm into crack cocaine. I'm into St. Paul's back in the 90s, early 2000s. Now, any of you lot know anything, you'll know it was kind of crazy back then. It was unruled. The police didn't come into St. Paul's. It was that nutty. So I got a 3.5 year sentence. I've got to sort my life out, and I've got to sort it out, man. Come on, man. Do you know what I mean? I did 21 months behind the door. I was at a month, 4 weeks maybe, not even that. I got a 5.5 year prison sentence now. Now they're talking real McCoy long sentences. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about what prison is. Not what you think prison is, because everyone thinks prison's calm, innit? You've got the boys in there, they've got their smartphones, you've all seen it on social media. They've got their smartphones, they've got their PlayStations, Xboxes. That's like 1%. The other 99%, they're begging for crumbs. And it's hard every day. They unlock your door in the morning, you look up and down the land, who is it wants to smack me in the face today? Who did I look at funny yesterday? Whose things did I pick up by mistake? What stuff? And it's like, it's constant this wheel is going around and around and around in your head, and you're having to deal with this every single day, right? But I wasn't learning my lesson. So I'm going to fast forward now to 2003. Were you not even any? You born in 2003? I can't do the maths quickly. No. So 2003, I was a 20-something-year-old kid. I got hold of a reboard firearm. Now it works like a gun, it is a gun, it's just, it comes from something dodgy. It may have fired, it may not have fired, right? So I've got hold of a firearm now. And I've gone into crack crazy crime. And that is the only way I can name it, because what happens is you start smoking that drug and nothing else matters. You know, let's say you started what you started. I don't want to point at no one because I know people are funny like that. If I say Adam started smoking that today, his van would be gone, his job would be gone, his family would be gone, because all you think about is getting more of that drug. Even if it makes you feel horrible, you don't care that it makes you feel horrible, because the addict in you is now at this point going, my guy, I got you. Anytime you feel shit, anytime you feel like the world's getting too much for you, you just come have a go with me and I'll make you forget all about that stuff. So I got into that mindset. I think I was 21. I got a firearm. I'm walking around Bristol city centre and I decide, right, I want some money. So I go to do a cash point robbery. Now you all know what a cash point robbery is. Someone walks up to someone on a cash point. I was a nasty guy, so don't get it twisted that I'm coming in, you're thinking I'm all peaches. There's no peaches near me, you know what I mean? Barbed wire for a long time. So I go up to this guy at a cash point. I scare him so much, he can't put his PIN number in. He can't do nothing. He's scared. I've scared him to death. He thinks he's gonna die. So a normal person, what they would do at this point is abandon that robbery and go and run off. But I had no one telling me, I had no boundaries, I had no one telling me, if you do this, the consequences for your actions are going to be X, Y, and death. I didn't think like that. I thought, I'm the man, I've got a firearm, I'm in charge. But I wasn't. My addict was in charge. My addiction was in full-blown gangster mode, and it was heading straight to the end, and anything that got in my way got destroyed. So this guy can't get money out of a cash point. What do? I flagged down a taxi. Whilst I got this guy at gunpoint, I put him in a taxi cab. Now this is like, you must understand, this is not normal behavior. Normal people don't do this stuff. Put him in a taxi, and I'm saying, mate, you're taking me to your house, and I'm taking money from you in your house. Didn't know what situation. I could have been going in, there could have been 20 people. I didn't know, like my head had gone by this point. So I've gone to this guy's house, and unfortunately there was 3 other people in the house. So if the robbery happened, they all got robbed. I robbed them all, I took their money, caused them all heck of drama, got away with that. About a week later, I spent all the money, pawned in all the jewellery, all of that crap, and I'm back doing the same thing. But this time, the guy I tried to pull it on, he had brethrens. And his brethren's like, no, you're not taking our money. They mashed me up, put me down, twisted me up, and waiting for the police to come. So now I'm in the police station, under arrest for an attempted robbery. As I'm in the police station, the policeman's going, as they're reading out these charges, the policeman's gone to me, right, my colleagues want to speak to you because we're aware of another robbery just like this one that you attempted. So now I'm in a police station. I'm 21 years old. I ain't a big man at this point. I've done a bit of jail, yeah, but I'm not a big man. A solicitor comes to me and says, Paul, you're done, mate. You get done for this, you're getting a life sentence. You're never getting out of prison, not until you're old and grey. Old and grey. Right? So that's what he's telling me. So I'm like, right. So I've gone into the statement. Now this time I'm bigging myself up, you know. I'm like, mate, I don't care, I didn't do nothing, da, da, da. And when the police start talking to me, it's like they know every single inch of my movements for the last month, every robbery that I committed, every heinous crime. They had it all there, right? I thought I was invisible to the world. I wasn't. I was just lucky or unlucky that I'd not been caught at that time. You know, I'm leaving trails of victims, real victims in my path. I didn't care. Look at the size of me. I didn't care. I didn't care. I was this big, horrible guy. It's just like I had so much anger and no one telling me what to do. And I was making the worst choices a person can make. When a normal person is being told, right, you need to stop here because you've got a moral compass, you've got something within you. I lost mine through some fault of my own and some fault of other people. I lost it. So I ended up going to prison on remand, and I ended up doing a year on remand, you know, not knowing what's going on in my life. I got locked up for a year. Come to court, I got 10 years, 6 months, 27 days. So I served 9 years of that. Well, 8 years, 10 months. So that's what I served in one scene. I didn't have no homies, I didn't have PlayStations, I didn't have none. I'm now an addict in prison. I don't want to give up my addictions. I just want to do it in jail. I just want to get away with it because I'm still this crazy guy, and I'm just like, no one can tell me anything. You're not doing it. But at the same time, when I'm in jail, I'm realizing that I'm doing all these little courses to kill the time. And I'm smashing them out the park. Yeah, done this course, done that course, done that course. And they say to me, Paul, why don't you do a degree? Right? I'm like, right, you know what, I could do like a uni thing in jail, you know. That's kind of big still. So I've gone, right, I'll do that. So 50% of my time, I'm studying for a degree. 25% of my time, I'm beating people up in the jail, and 25% of my time I'm looking for drugs, right? This is a mad situation I'm now in, because half my brain's still telling me to go to that crazy land, but there was a small voice in the back of my head saying, take these opportunities, Paul. You're in here for almost 10 years. Take these opportunities, run with it, see what happens. So I started doing the courses, I started studying, I got myself a degree. I'm very proud of that, by the way. I've got a Bachelor of Arts. Not many people in my situation can say that. So I managed to do that. I get quite to the end of my sentence now, and they put me in open prison. Now, this is a prison without walls, do you know what I mean? They've got no fences. If you want to leave, you leave. Now, I've already done 8 years of my sentence by this time, so my head should have been on point. I should have been ready to face the outside world. I went straight into that open prison where drugs are rife absolutely everywhere. I lasted about 2 weeks until I was flat out, like I was doing drugs in there like I was before I went away. After all of those years of doing little bits here, little bits there, just surviving, you know what I mean, trying to get my head through it. And I'm coming up to release on the biggest sentence I've ever received, and one of the biggest sentences most of my peeps know I'd ever received. And I'm back into addiction again. So I get sent back to closed conditions, and I kind of get my head back in the game. I'm thinking, right, I'm coming close to getting out now, so I need to sort my head out. Got this degree, let's get out. So I've got out. I got out. They shoved me down to Weymouth to keep me away from my area, keep me away from the ends, because that's what they do. They don't like criminals, especially someone like me coming. If I was to come straight back to Bristol, there's a fear that I'm going to pick up around that old negative friend group. And these are the people you lot need to be careful of. Because that negative friend group, yeah, and you've all got them, whether you've got them on your phone, whether they come to your yard, whether you go to the same spots for them people are the ones, they don't care about what you're doing, your football team. They don't care. They're just in it for whatever they can get. And that's what I did. I ended up with people gassing me up. Armed robber, gunman, big things. That's all I was getting told constantly. That's what I was getting told. And I'm buying it. So I was like 18 months from a 10.5-year prison sentence, and I go back to prison. And I get another 9.5-year sentence with an extended 6-year license, which means now they've got me for 14 years. That's what the prison system had me for. 14 years. What do I do with my time? So I did what anyone should do when they go to jail. I started writing diaries, just noticing things. Started writing down the good behaviour that I saw in people, the bad behaviour that I saw in people. Then I started noticing that the system was quite messed up. You know, like I was seeing the same people coming into this system, the same people doing the same things. Can I tell you, right, when I did my 9.5-year sentence, right, this EPP, I saw more than that people hanging in their cell, more than that. I saw more than that people die from spice overdoses. Now, I don't know if you lot know much about spice, the zombie drug, call it what you will, right? It was a legal high. In the prison system now, it is the most prevalent drug. And I'm not just talking about the UK system, I'm talking about the prison system worldwide. There is a pandemic of spice smokers. And I started smoking it because I was told this. Well, it's a synthetic cannabinoid, right? They can't do you for drug tests. I was in jail, so I started smoking it, not realising what it actually did. It made me black out. It made me go into shock, projectile vomiting. Now, this is happening today. In several jails today, that will happen. People will smoke this drug and it will make them go down. And lots of people are dying from it, like I said. The drug situation in prison and out of prison is going absolutely crazy. But I'm still stuck in jail. I'm doing this big sentence, man. Year after year, I'm looking, thinking, am I ever going to be released from this madness? Then I get released. And this was like 8 years ago. 8 years ago. I get released from my last, what I would call sentence. It's not the last time I went to jail, but it's the last time I committed offences. Yeah. So I get out. They've shoved me down to the beach again, because that's what they like to do. You get out of jail, shove you somewhere near a beach, and that's one of the things they do. And then I met my partner, who I'm with now. And she said to me, yo, you need to come to Swindon, live with me, I'm going to look after you and all that. But in my head, I've got distrust of people, I got distrust of women, I got distrust of men, I got distrust of the police, anyone in a uniform. I don't trust anyone, right? But I'm like, oh, I've met this girl, da-da-da. She's got a young kid, it's all gravy, you know? I'm starting to live the good life, I think. I was out a year before I got recalled to jail for a drug relapse. I never committed any crime. I didn't go out, you know, doing any more robberies, anything like that. But I was under the prison remit. So if I committed any offences, anything, even what you wouldn't think is an offence, you go back to prison. They call it bad behaviour. I ended up going back to jail. And I went back to jail again. And again. And they kept recalling me. And I'm thinking, right, I need to change my life. We need some redemption. We need to be going somewhere with this. So in 2019, the day after my birthday, I made a decision, me and my partner. She basically gave me an ultimatum. She was like, if you don't sort your life out, because I know you can, and I just think you're choosing not to, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to kick you out. I'm going to take your kids away from you, and I'm going to give you what you think you deserve, right? Because that's what I thought. I just constantly, genuinely believed I want worth nothing. No one, you know, no one wants to help me, because addicts and people of that, we get into something called the poor me. Pour me, pour me, pour me a drink, they used to say in AA, NA groups, because that's what they actually mean. You feeling sorry for yourself all the time. But by as one single person showing me a little bit of faith, a little bit extra, and it was a little bit extra, something clicked in me. The 13th of May 2019. I have not used a drug since then. I still drink because I'm not an alcoholic, and I like to come and watch football and drink cider, right? But I have stayed clean, sober, non-active in my addictions now for, we're coming on for 4 years. I started a little Facebook group. You've got Facebook in it, or something, so I started this little Facebook group, and it got 200 people, and it was like, you know what? People kind of like what I'm writing. So I thought, I'm going to do a couple of videos. I jumped on the TikTok thing. Yeah, I'm older than almost every TikToker out there. I am, I admit it. But I've almost got 14,000 followers, which isn't bad for an old 44 ex-addict in recovery prisoner. And I started doing these little videos. And then I started coming to the football. And it was really important, me saying that I started coming to the football, because I'd not been for years. I mean, for years and years and years. I used to hear it from my cell over on B-Wing, that way. I used to hear it from my cell. So last year, Rovers Swindon, in Swindon, where I now live, my missus basically forced me out the house. She said, go watch bloody football. And I started coming, and I realised there was this huge community of people who really wanted to sort of help push this message that I'm trying to promote, that it doesn't matter who you are, what life you come from, if you suffer from addiction, if you've got mental health issues, and I will touch on that in a minute, there is help out there. There is people who really, and I'm not just talking about like drug rehab units, I'm not talking about centres, I'm talking about people like me who are sat in their homes and they're trying to help as many people as they can. Good. I've only gone to that twice. That's pretty good. So I set up the Facebook thing, I did the TikTok thing, and then Adam Sutton got in contact with me, invited me down to do a couple of talks with the community trust side of things, and that really blew up. And I have to thank Ad a lot for that, because it kind of let people understand that I was out here trying to make some moves. And any of you watch the Sean Atwood YouTube channel? Any of you even aware of him? I thought so. I know you can't. So I went up to London just before Christmas, and I went on a podcast, a guy called Sean Atwood. He was a major ecstasy dealer back in the 90s. He got a lot of trouble for it. But he turned, like me, he turned his life around, and now he tries to promote people like myself. So that podcast went out 4 weeks ago. This morning it had 54.7 thousand views, and none of you have seen it. Can't believe it, not one. That's, make Sean Atwood, Paul Simmons YouTube easy, right? But from that, I've been getting phone calls and conversations, and I get people now phoning me every single day asking for advice. I had it this morning before I came out, 3 1 hour phone calls before I come to do this talk. None of you are even aware of me. And that's the whole point. There are so many people who have been through my life. It's not an easy life living on the streets, begging for food. You know what I mean? Doing some crazy stuff to just survive. It ain't easy. But what I am trying to promote now is change. Everyone is able to change. Anyone can get stuck in addiction, but anyone can get out of it. But what you lot need to learn today is about your choices that you make. Do I get up, go training today? Do I do my coursework today? Do I make sure my kit's all sorted? Those small choices lead into bigger choices. And some of those choices get taken out of your hands. So you think not doing a couple of things, you know, I can't be bothered today. Before you know it, you've lost your placement. Before you know it, you're getting depressed now. So you start hanging around on the street with the man them on the roads. And before you know it, you're smoking a little something. Before you know it, you're out holding firearms or machetes or whatever. And don't tell me it can't happen. Because in prison, I've come across all types. Did I tell you how long I spent all in all? 22 years. That's how long I served sat in a cell. 22 years. I didn't learn my lesson for 22 years. Any of you, by making the wrong choices, can slip so easily down to crime, drug taking, shotting. Now it could be, you know, you go, I'd never do that, I'd never do that. But you can't say it. I never thought I'd be stood here in front of you lot talking. I never thought that. I never thought I'd be doing any of this stuff. First day, I am off to London again to screen test for a documentary that's going out on, like, it's going to be huge. And I never thought anything more than getting my drugs in the morning, making sure I could inject my drugs into me, and then just don't worry about the rest of the life. That's all I had, because I never had anyone telling me, you can smash it, play for whatever clubs you want to play for. Do you know what I mean? You all have to have inspiration. You all have to have these goals, achievable goals, small goals. But don't let anyone else, don't even let me influence the choices you make. You can listen to me. You don't have to listen to me. I'm going to walk away from here knowing that I've done what I can to let you know that it is so simple to slip. Now, I've done Ronnie O'Sullivan, the Snoop player. I did jail with his old man. I was sat in Hallfield. We used to do go to the gym in the morning. This guy had more money than sense. He still ended up doing longer than I served. Right? The amount of people that go stupid. I know a DJ, I can't say his name for reasons, but I know a DJ who was asked to deliver something to a friend. He ended up getting 7 years sentence. Never done drugs in his life. The last time I saw him, he was bent over a toilet in one of the jails in a real bad way, because he got into that system and he started doing little favours for people, and before you know it, it all blows up. And I can tell you lot got game, innit? You all want to do something, you all want to succeed in life, but you have to make your own choices. Don't let anyone influence what you feel is right. You have to know within yourself. I do, like I said, I committed a lot of crime. I did a lot of robberies. But I've not just walked away from that and gone, do you know what, I did that, don't worry about it, we'll move on. I've sat with victims of crime. I've sat with my victims of crime. People who I physically hurt. And I've had to sit in a room with them and let them tell me how bad it got. Let them tell me how bad I made them feel. Now, I don't want anyone to have to go through the stuff that I've gone through, and this is a genuine thing, right? Prison's a joke. It's a joke. There's guys up there in Hallfield right now who've been sat up there for years. In and out, in and out. They don't care. Prison officers talking to them like rubbish. They don't care, because that's all they know. That's all I knew. Until someone shook me literally and went, mate, you can do much better. But do you like my badge? I made that up. It's all these little things that I do to make sure that I set my goals. Set goals, making sure I'm always doing something. I'm always stressing tucks out for something. Always, you know, mate? All the time. Worst thing to do is give me your phone number, right? Because I believe in calling favours in. Absolutely, I believe in calling favours in. But there was a time I wouldn't have done this. Listen, last year, when my brain told me this morning, don't get on the train and come to Bristol, last year, I'd still be sat in Swindon. Because I have to challenge myself. And this is important, I want you to hear this now. You're seeing me, I'm quite, I'm quite out there and I'm quite a friendly guy. What you don't know about me is I suffer from complex post-traumatic stress disorder, right? From the beatings that I took, from the crimes that I committed, from the behaviours that happened when I was in prison. Serious complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I suffer from borderline personality disorder, which, if any of you were at the football on the weekend, you'll know, struck its ugly head on me. I was down here to watch the football, something happened, I had a ticket in my hand and turned around and went home. Didn't see a ball get kicked. I have to cope with these things. I have to challenge myself to do this because, according to everyone else, I shouldn't be able to do this. I shouldn't be able to. But it's about pushing yourself, motivating yourself, telling yourself, do you know what? No one can tell me what I can and can't do. I know what I can do. And I promise you, you can all achieve amazing things if you want to. You're not going to find a better team than Bristol Rovers to play for, though. I'll just say, you kind of know where I'm at with that. I'm a very, very religious Bristol Rovers fan. I don't moan. I love my club, and I think you all should love it too. And if you've got any questions, save me, please.
Lads, anyone got any questions?
No, you can ask me about mental health, prison, absolutely anything. I'm an open book.
I'll go first. So, you've had a massive experience in life across a variation.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
So I've just set up my own company. So I've set up a community interest company. So it's the closest thing to a charity without having to have £500,000 roll through the books all the time. And I'm setting up a community hub. I've got to mention I've got my own radio show on Swindon 105. So I am always looking for staff members or anyone to come up and tell their story. I'm basically mentoring en masse. That is what I do. I live stream twice a day, AM on TikTok, PM on all the other platforms. And I just give people advice, a little bit of hope, guidance and strength. I've built a community called the Recovery Rovers. I'm in recovery, it says it right there. I support Bristol Rovers. It's it's quite easy to come up with that. So, and it's growing. And I've got people coming to me now going, how can I help, Paul? Where do I sign up? And I'm growing, there's going to be an army of people like me. This almost will be the last time I do this solo. The next time I get invited down, I've got someone else that will blow your socks off, to be honest with you. She's a female. She went through county lines. She's done 8 years. And now she's on my books as someone who wants to come and do the talks. Yeah. So, and more people are coming along. So if any of you got family members or cousins or mates and you know they're in jail and you're like, oh man, just wasted his life, it's just a waste, man. Please don't think that, because it can take one little spark, one spark of inspiration just to make your whole life change. Like I said, I'm screen tested first day. I don't even know what screen testing is, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
No, it's fantastic. Obviously, we'll support you as much as we can do moving forward along the way and try and enhance the next steps. These players have come through part of the journey themselves, and they're on, most of them, on 2-year scholarships.
That's so good, yeah.
What would be kind of sound advice that you give them should they come to the end of their contracts and they're not getting it?
And they're not getting it. Yeah. Listen, you can't. It's like this. Football is awesome, right? You all want to be pro football players, and everyone wants to be a pro. You're not sat here if you don't want to try to make it. But not everyone's going to make it. And you've got to be prepared for that. You've got to have it in your head a second plan. You have to have that plan, because if you don't, it can be so easy for everything just to come crumbling down so quick, so fast. You let yourself, if you put all your eggs in one basket, I know it's an old saying, but if you do that, they all crack, they all break. You have to think to yourself, if this doesn't work out, like I do right now, if this doesn't work out, at least I've got a factory job to go back to. But do you know what I mean? It's whatever it is, you have to think to yourself, if it doesn't work out, at least I've got this to fall back on. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's, you know, and the world is full of side hustles now, peeps. Everyone has got a graph. Like I said, I do social media. I don't sing and dance for no one, right? But it really helps me get my message out. It helps me promote what I'm trying to do. So always think of something, the next thing. That's my advice. You lot are so talky, you're so chatty. So chatty. I don't care, I'd sit here and talk all day. I do it in front of my phone usually. I usually got a room full of people. I can sit here and chat, you know.
Did you ever get back in touch with your parents when Kate was 6 or not?
Unfortunately, my dad passed year before last, so I didn't get to, he didn't get to see this, you know, and that's another thing. My old man never got to see, he never got to see the sober guy, the talker, the social media. He never got to see any of that. All he saw was this pain in the ass kid for year and year after year after year, just getting out saying he was going to do well and failing. So, no, unfortunately that didn't happen. My mother, on the other hand, yeah, I'm making great strides to make sure it doesn't go the same way, because you only live once, man. You know, yeah, don't let that time slip away, because, man, I was 22 a minute ago, I'm 45 in a couple of months, and it goes so quick.
Paul, can I ask, obviously the lads, obviously they've got football on one side, they've still got to do an education. How important is the education?
It's more important than your football. It's as simple as that. Education, it's not just about what you learn in a classroom. It's not just about, you know, say filling out forms and you know angles and quadratic equations, all that doesn't matter. It's really good because it improves your thinking. It allows you to learn about yourself in ways that you don't quite understand. I say to my children all the time, education, education, education. I don't care what you do, as long as you are good in class and you make sure you take what I am teaching you into that classroom. Because I did all of my education in prison, all of it. You know, I got my GCSEs when I was at school, but I didn't, you know, I was messing around through the whole thing. And I waited until I got to prison, and then I got all of these qualifications, and I realised, you know, that I'd messed half of my life up. But education, education, education. Not everyone has to have a degree, right? Not everyone has to have a doctorate or an MA, but having standard level of education is so important, because there's guys in prison, my age, who can't read and write. Genuinely, they cannot read the letters their children send to them. And you think, what? Nah, that ain't jail. That's jail. They rather put him in a factory kind of environment than rather in education. But I'm trying to change that. Me, little old me. I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to change that policy. I'm trying to change it where if you go into jail, you have to get standard education first.
What do you think was the thing that helped you get back on track with those?
My partner and my missus. It's my partner and my kids. I ain't got two. Whoops. Yeah, my partner and my kids. Absolutely. When you know you're going to lose something, that all of those years I sat in a cell, all of those years, and you ain't got a lot to do apart from think and overthink. And the whole time I was in there, it was like, this is what I want. I want the missus, I want the kids, I want the nice house, I want the jewellery, all of that. I was that close literally that close from losing it all. And it was only, like I said, when she put it on me in such a way, now, my missus is a strong woman, man. She put it on me in such a way that I knew if I turned slightly to the right here, I'd have lost everything. And it's just too much. The risk is just too much. Most addicts and most criminals, they just think because your people, they put up with it and they've always put up with it, you just think they're always going to put up with it. They're always going to go, well, it's only Paul. He's an addict, isn't he? You know what I mean? It's just Paul, it's what he does. And she went, no, it's not what he does. This is actually, there's more to him than this. And I big her up. She doesn't like it. If you've seen me in the papers and stuff that I've been in, you'll know she doesn't make many appearances. I have to send like stock images in and go, yeah, she does exist. But no, she's my world, she's my queen. Yeah, man.
You touched on earlier about you still have bad days. So
Oh, yes.
what do you do to keep yourself focused for yourself?
Keep myself busy. Keep busy. That is a mantra you should keep in your head. Keep busy. Just keep busy. Because that's what you need to do. So when I left here the other day and I stormed off, I went home, made a few videos, I did some editing. And that's what I do to kill my time. And as long as I'm thinking about the important stuff, that noise, and that's what I get. I physically get white noise in my head when I start getting angry, upset. It gets higher and higher, and then I'm like, right, I need to get out of there. Just clear the air, clear my space. And that's something I will always have. It's never going to change. It's never going to go away. All the medication in the world isn't going to make the blindest bit of difference. It's something that I've got to live with. But I live with it, and I'm out here doing this. As they say, I'm out here, innit? You know? Alright, thank you. You lot, I'm getting a question out of one of you. I ain't going until one of you lot over here asks me a question.
Do you think, like, when you leave prison, sending you out to like the beaches and that, do you think that's like the worst thing they can do? Is just crowd people into one area? Like?
It's such a bad, I'm glad you said that, it's such a bad thing to do. They do it all the time. If you think of the resorts in the UK, Bournemouth, full of drug houses and prison hostels. Weymouth, same thing. Western, same thing. I can go up the country and it's what they do. It's like anywhere the train doesn't go any further, they go, right, we'll put everyone there.
It's like moving the problem rather than solving it.
This looks good, man.
What else could they do? You know what I mean?
That's the problem. There is no one solution. There isn't one, you know, because you've got people who do the NIMBY things, not in my backyard, so they don't want hostels in their areas. So shoving them into places where it's all bed and breakfasts, and so it's a transient community. It's just easier. It doesn't solve the problem, it makes the problem worse. Because you're bringing all drugs, all alcoholics, all criminality into little points around the country. So, two things need to happen. There needs to be more support for prisoners upon release. Letting someone out with, I think it's gone up to like £90 now, letting someone out of prison after they serve 10, 20 years with £90 in their pocket and go on, off you go. Go start your life where you're not going to commit any criminal acts, and you're going to go, well, that £90 gone before I even got off the train, mate, because I'm not used to having money in my hand. You know, I've not had money in my hand for years. In prison it comes, you got a little sheet, they tell you how much you got at the top of the sheet, and you just order what you want. And that's the thing, in prison, all of that goes. So there definitely needs to be more help for people on release, short term, especially short-term prisoners, because it's the short-term prisoners who get the least help. The ones who will keep going back, the recidivists, you know, 6 weeks here, out for a couple of weeks, back in for 6 weeks. They're not doing massive amounts of time. No one even notices them. But they're not getting the help, and they're just bouncing and filling up the jail houses. And I'm so glad to say none of you are ever going to experience this, but if you did, you would see the same faces It is like a merry-go-round, the prison system. You know, there's 85,000 people, but it's the same 85,000 people. And that's the truth of it. It's the same ones, constantly. So yeah, there needs to be definitely more work done.
Do you do much work with the prison?
I'm really lucky at the moment. Like I said, I send out a lot of emails, I speak to a lot of people. I got in touch with Sir Robert Buckland, the MP, who used to be the former Justice Minister, who then got me in touch with the head of the Police Crime Commissioner, who then got me in touch with the IOM Integrated Offender Management Team, and they're taking me on their books full time. So yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not social media. I'm not working. I'm doing everything. It's like, yeah, I ain't stopping until I've succeeded in my goal, and I don't think it's a possible goal to succeed in yet. So I'm going to be doing it until I can do it no more.
See the first time you stepped into prison, it was different to the last time you stepped into
Yeah, man. The first time it was crazy, you know. It's like, let me explain to you. When I first went to prison, there weren't even toilets or sinks or plug sockets. I'm talking, it was old school, man. You know, you had to go to the loo in a bucket in a corner of the cell, and then that's got to sit in your cell all night as well. It was a grim spot. And the problem is, and a lot of people don't know this, there's still prisons today in this country that have that system. There's one in London, Calderley. They still have the slop out. They don't have sanitation. And you just think, how do you expect men to get out of prison when you've been making them go for a loo in a bucket in the corner of their cell, and you expect them to come out and then become, you know, members of society? It doesn't make sense. So, but now, like jail, the prison itself is easy, but the prisoners aren't. There's a lot of guys your ages in jail doing life sentences. These are crazy kids, and they're just violent because they think, I'm in jail, I'm young, you just give me a life sentence. What have I got to be good for? And that's unfortunately their mindset. And some of these guys will never get out, but it's really tearing up the system. That whole thing of giving young kids life sentences, to me, doesn't make any sense at all. Not unless you've killed someone, that is like. But there's a lot of guys that are doing life, and no, punch someone, life. That's just the way it is at the moment. So that's we done. We good?
Yeah, guys, any more questions? Lads, ladies, listen, what, mate, as you know, you're an inspiration about what can be achieved in your life. I think, lads, I'm hoping everyone in this room has taken something from today.
Right.
Yeah? Go home tonight and have a think about some of the things he said, all right? That key thing about options and choices. Yeah? The choices are down to you guys at the end of the day, about what you put in and what you want to get out. Because I think the main thing I see, and I've seen Paul talk a few times, it does not take a lot. We can all sit here and say, that wouldn't happen to me. Not going to happen to me.
There's no such thing as anyone, and no one is immune from addiction, no one's immune from homelessness, no one's immune from making the wrong decisions. And that's what it is. We can all make one small wrong decision, and before you know it, you're sat in a cell. I was speaking to someone a couple of days ago, and he literally said, I went to court, didn't really know what was going on. He said within an hour I was sat in a jail, sat in prison. He was only there for a week and a half, never wanted to experience it again, obviously, but it's that quick. You can go from living a nice little life and bam, just like that. Don't get caught slipping, man.
Byron?
No, just a huge thank you on behalf of everyone in the room, because it's a real big eye opener, and so many life skills are shared, good and bad.
Yeah.
And some things that guys can take away to their next experiences in their lives, wherever that may be. And
It's really important, man.
some good points. So thanks for that.
Lads, can we give Paul a round?
Get a group picture.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it in front of do you want to do it for the stand?